Hey guys, welcome to what we at Redemption Church call Faith in Action, a brand new online midweek service we're going to be rolling out for the foreseeable future. I'm your host, Isaac Jeter, where each month we're going to be interviewing new local ministers of the Lord, whether it be a lead pastor, a youth pastor, a worship leader, or maybe even a local university professor. We're just going to pick their brains, kind of see how the Lord led them to the position they're in, and just kind of get the ins and outs of what it entails to be like a teacher or a pastor, whatever it may be. So come on, let's go on this journey together and really discover what it means to live your faith in action. Hey everyone, welcome back to what we at Redemption Church call Faith in Action. I'm Isaac Jeter, your host, and look, we got a brand new guest for this new part of the series, Kurt Schaer.
There it is, the one, the only.
Man, I'm so happy to have you here. I've known you for almost 2 years now, and it's a pleasure to have you as our second guest.
Listen, man, it is an honor. I watched the first series with Pastor Matt. I can't believe I have to follow that up. That's interesting. But it is an honor to be here, man. And so proud of you of just what you're doing for the kingdom and for this. So it truly is a blessing. I don't take this lightly. So welcome to my home, man. And I pray this will be a lot of great for both of us.
Thank you so much, Kurt. You know, you're one of the high-profile guests, I would say. Someone that listen. Like Pastor Matt says, tell the truth, shame the devil. You know? Okay. You're a high-profile guest to where I feel like, hey, we got to have someone on that teaches us a little bit about marriage coaching, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He and his wife, Danette, now have a ministry called Broken for Better, in which they are itinerant speakers and marriage coaches for couples near you, couples near and far and everywhere. And so, yeah, if you don't mind, I just want to read out some of your credentials just so people know, hey, this guy's legit. This guy got experience.
Yes, come on, Isaac. Please, just throw him on me here.
So he's a graduate from Word of Life Bible Institute.
That's it.
He is a certified EXO marriage coach and mediator. And then before he ever began marriage coaching, he was a sports and recreational pastor for 3 years, a student pastor for 6, a family ministry pastor for 2, so he definitely got experience at that institution. And then this is when I met him. He was a senior executive pastor for 7 years.
That's it.
So I've never met a senior executive pastor, but when my pastor, Pastor Matt, introduced me, I was like, okay.
Has it changed your life, Isaac?
It did. Yeah,
it changed your life, didn't it?
I walked away with my jaw dropped. I was like, okay.
You're like, they'll let anybody do that job.
I didn't say that. He said it. But more than anything, you know, if we're consulting a marriage coach, we want to know that you have been tested, tried, and true, and have arrived at the other side, you know, holding that banner with your wife. And he has been married to his amazing wife, Danette, for 29 years.
26.
I'm sorry, 26 he's been years. With her 29 years.
29 have been together.
And then been married for 26.
That's it.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's older than me.
Well, I appreciate that, Isaac.
I'm sorry. But anyway, yes, he's been tried and true. He is a veteran to marriage, and we know we can trust him. Actually, I met you for the first time when you were at Life Church, still the executive pastor, and Pastor Matt introduced me. And one of the first things you told us was, hey, pretty soon I'm getting into full-time marriage coaching.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. I'd never met you, so I'm just like...
You're like, I met a senior exec and he's leaving.
Yeah, I was like, who are these people? Like, this is crazy, big church. It was cool. But yeah, it was a cool meeting to see that you had such fire. Yeah. You were so excited to just jump into this next stage in life.
Amen.
And it took a little bit, you know, here or there, whatever, but here you are.
Here we are.
And just as more of a testimony, I went to your first ever marriage conference.
Yes, you did. As a single man, by the way.
As a single man.
He was there in the house. So ladies, he is primed and ready.
Where are they? But it was such an incredible experience because would you have 25 couples, something like that?
Yeah.
Around there, and it was just to see, you know, young, old, different demographics, just to see people hungry to say, hey, maybe they didn't have marriage issues at the time, but they were hungry to learn more. And I was there for the full day, and it was a blessing to me. I took 9 pages of notes.
Let's go. He really is ready, ladies.
Oh man, I was like, listen.
That's more notes than some of the married couples took.
I'm telling you, we got to get into that. We got to get into the, like, how do I know when I'm ready for marriage? Tested, tried, and true. But let's get into the first question.
Let's do it, man.
So tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah.
Ministry experience, from call of the Lord, education, roles, positions, and how you formulated this role and vision for Broken for Better.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I truly am humbled that I've been in church my whole life since I was 2, was drugged to church and really went for the social aspect of church.
Oh, yeah?
I loved being there. Those were like our family, right? That's our community. And so those were my best friends. And then I did that whole journey. Then I met my wife in high school. She was like the queen of church.
Is it?
Was going to be a missionary, homecoming queen. I mean, at this school, it was a private school. So at this place, she was it. And just a beautiful soul. Well, I was pretty lost at the time, honestly. And she got a lot of, this is crazy how it all started. Like her student pastor actually counseled her to break our relationship off because I was not following Jesus at the time. But, with looks like this, how do you just break that off, right? I mean, you hold on to what you find. So we went through with it, and what that caused was 8 years of a terrible marriage.
Really?
When we first started.
Really?
I was a lost individual. She was doing everything. We still went to church. We did all the right things, but my heart was not passionately sold out for Jesus. And so we just played all the things, a lot of verbal, emotional abuse. I was gone a lot, addicted to a lot of substances. For the first 8 years, a lot of infidelity. There was a ton of infidelity in our marriage. Well, at 28, I had been traveling playing poker at the time. And I was on my way to a poker tournament. Yeah, I was on my way. I played every day. I was on my way to a poker tournament and took a phone call that literally sent me to my knees. I fell to my knees. At that moment, confessed that I had run from the Lord my entire life. And when I stood up, Isaac, I was a completely different soul. I confessed to the Lord that I had sinned, that I had been running from Him, and that when I stood up, I would believe in Him and I would spend the rest of my days proclaiming His goodness and His greatness to anyone that would listen. I stood up. A month later, I was in Bible college.
Wow.
And from that point, man, that was in 2000, that was June 6th, 2006.
Really?
And from that point, my wife, if she was sitting here, she would tell you, I've been married one time to 2 completely different men. Because what God did inside of me was radical. So when you think about that history and you think about, the verbal and the emotional and what put my wife through and all this infidelity, we get within the walls of a church and immediately God starts sending us couples.
Really?
Yeah, it was nuts. Now we're still trying to, at this point, she doesn't even know about my infidelity. So we're trying to process our own healing and who's this new Kurt creature and but God began to send us couples. Well, what it caused us to do was we had to study and we had to learn.
Yeah.
What does God's word say about marriage and how do we pour and invest into these couples and why are these couples coming to us that have infidelity issues? This is crazy. We better learn about this. And so we started learning everything. Well, in learning and growing and God really expanding our knowledge about His word and what He says about marriage and what He feels about marriage, we just grew this love for it.
Really?
So I did the sports rec and I did the students and I gave it everything I had. But in every season of our ministry, marriage was always a fundamental part.
Oh, wow.
Well, in 2013 is when I actually confessed to my wife that there had been so many years of infidelity. And so we had a 2-year period where it was very traumatic, a lot of therapy, a lot of counseling. But it solidified us in a way that we had never had before. The openness, the communication, what God had done. It allowed some things to really birth. Well, literally a month and a half after telling her, couples began to come to us. Hey, we're having an infidelity. I just found out he had an affair. I just found out she had an affair. And once again, it was like God was using us in the midst of our hurt and our pain. And we saw Him respond and do things through us, but in doing it through us, He was doing it to us. And it was just this radical thing. So we grew this absolute love for couples. I believe in it, man. I know the hell that my marriage walked through and what we were able to come through. I believe you can overcome anything if you'll add God to the mix. So, we started then getting training. We started, really getting certifications, going and learning about it, growing healthy. And then did our first XO conference. We were some speakers at an XO that our church threw, and it opened our hearts and minds to something that we had never seen. And the rest is history, man. May 1st of 2022, we left the local walls, vocational ministry, and stepped out to a nonprofit called Broken for Better. And really just know that God called us to all things marriage. We do podcasts. You can check us out on podcasts. It's marriage coaching weekly, basically. You can check that out and just enhance and encourage. And Isaac, you said something that I love that many people don't get. If you will invest in your marriage in every season, all you can do is get healthier. Okay. See, people wait for trauma to then go, oh, we need a divorce or we need therapy. My wife and I, we have this mantra that we want to be a fitness center for marriages so that they never have to visit a trauma center. Yeah. If you go to the gym every day, which I can tell you definitely do, right? Yeah, ladies, remember? If you go to the gym every day, you get stronger and it keeps you away from the doctor.
Yeah, literally.
Marriage is no different. Okay. Get coaches in your life to encourage you and empower you in the good seasons, and then it'll help you navigate the bad. You got me off on a tangent, bro. I get fired up about this stuff.
No, I love for you too, because you know how, just from secondhand understanding marriage, you have to give your whole self to this person. And our whole selves are not always sanctified, and sometimes we have to deal with hard days. Sometimes we have to deal with the ugly sides of people. But continuing to dedicate ourselves to that and then seeking out extra help and reaching a point where it's like, hey, I've watched all the Psych to Go videos on YouTube. I've done everything I can to try to make this work. Let's get some help. Let's sit down and talk with a marriage coach. Let's say, hey, we're having these issues. These are how we deal with them. And that's what you guys do, right?
Well, you're well on your way, because the first part is realizing we are two imperfect people. We're two broken people.
Right.
No, especially men. We're three dudes sitting here, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They can't see Sean, but shout out to Sean. We're three dudes sitting here, and we don't like to admit our flaws and our failures and we don't want to do that. Yeah. We want to have it all together. Well, you put two people in like that in a room, you start seeing the depth of the depravity of our soul. You now begin to learn how lost your partner is. Think about when you're dating. It's like when you're dating, everything's good, man. You got no problem. I love premarital counseling. Premarital counseling is amazing, right? They come here, they just want to get married, right?
Yeah, the greatest person on earth.
Oh, they got no issues. We just want to hurry up and have sex. Let's just do this thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, time out. This is not a good person. Nope. They are very flawed, and you are flawed.
Flags, yeah.
And it's helping people see that, because if you'll see that on the front end, oh my goodness, it will so help you on the back end.
Well, it sounds incredible. Like I said, I've actually sat under some of your teaching, even tonight, and I gleaned a lot. There's things that, even just your vulnerability and transparency with your own issues, really having to earn back your marriage in some ways.
Oh, there was not. Oh, man. You honestly, you probably couldn't have said it better. And that was that's a whole nother episode we could do, honestly. Yeah. Because my wife, for the first 8 to 9 years, was the spiritual leader of my home. I wasn't.
Wow. That's crazy.
Then all of a sudden, right? That's a late, then you flip that script, and now all of a sudden she hands these reins of spiritual leadership to the man now who's chasing Jesus. That's a whole nother thing, man. It's a whole nother dynamic. So
it's different.
It's a lot, man. We've been through a lot. That is my girl, man. She has been the biggest gift and blessing of my life. There's no doubt.
And to see you guys walk through that, I know we give credit to the Lord always.
Amen.
But to see the testimony of our brothers and sisters overcoming the blood of the Lamb,
yes.
It's inspiring to me. none of us are void of sin. All of us have our own weak points. And to see people continue to walk together on the other side of it, he's a great guy to look at.
I don't know about that, but
I can't wait to get into the future questions. I mean, we're really going to dive into a lot of deep points, whether it's who's qualified to be married, how does that fit with ministry dynamic? When do I know that I'm ready to get married, even though I don't know the woman yet?
Should we have an episode where we prayed some ladies in here and you like the dating game for Isaac?
Oh yeah, like,
can we do that?
Yeah, like hit the red button, like
and Sean.
We'll get Sean up in here. Cool. Well, we'll see you guys soon in the next episode. Can't wait.